Just a couple things left to do. The major one for points is to put a stop at the end of the animation. We want to go through, look at the animation very analytically, clean anything up that is not quite 100% correct, and somewhere along the way, many times along the way, you want to go to the project page and double check your entire animation. And at the end of this video, I'll show you how to do something like this, that it would involve splitting a letter in half. So if you have anything in your animation that is jerky or is not working 100%, what you want to do is use the period key and look at the frames in question that are giving you trouble, and you basically have to go in with the knowledge that I have a starting keyframe and an ending keyframe, and if one of those is in the wrong place or accidentally ended up with a keyframe in between that's throwing me off, that's probably where the problem is. Now I can see my problem here is that I still have this partial S showing up where the animation should be. So if I click on that to let me know what layer it's on, then I'm just simply going to do my F7. So I'm going to, if I'm really concerned about my grade, I'm just going to hold down the period key and step through this entire animation to make sure everything is correct. And then eventually I'm going to get to the end and I'm going to notice, at least in my case, that I didn't 100% complete the animation. Or did I? I don't know what I was talking about. I thought when I played this through that it didn't quite come to this end here, but I guess it did. Okay, so then the only other thing that I may want to do here, we're going to put a stop at the end, but I may, just for completeness sake, might want to get everything pretty at the end here where everything ends at the same place. And so if I have anything sticking out too far, I can just simply grab it, put my cursor in there, hold down the shift key, F5, F5 again, and now everything looks really good. Let's talk about putting the stop in here. A stop is done with an action. In the best practice with this program, or any program really that you can add actions to, is put that on the very top layer. That way it is much easier to troubleshoot down the road, and name it actions. Now we are going to put a keyframe in here to handle our stop action. The problem with putting it at the very end right away is that when we want to test it, we have to let the entire animation play through. So let's just, for the sake of our sanities, go to just about, say, 2 seconds in. In fact, let's look here and see where, let's do it right when the L comes out here. Let's temporarily put our stop here so that we only have to watch about 2 seconds of the animation to see if it worked. So here is how you put in a timeline action. You just simply click where you want it to go, put in an F7, and then I like to click on the frame and then right click and go to actions. But you can also use the menu to go to actions if you like. And that would look like this. You go up to Window, to Actions. You can also remember the shortcut F9, or a right click in Actions. The stop action is a very easy one. It is just the word stop, a left bracket, a right bracket, and a semicolon. Now, if you get any of these wrong, it will not work. So let me show you, first of all, the most common mistake is to put a colon there rather than a semicolon. And we'll go ahead, close the Actions panel, and we'll test our movie. Now, luckily, we will usually get things like this to pop up. We may not be able to understand what it's trying to tell us, but at least we know there's a problem. So we can say, all right, what is the problem? Best way to figure that out in this case, working with me would be to go in, open up my code where I do it properly, and compare it to yours. And hopefully you'll see, oh yeah, all I did was forget to put a semicolon at the end. Now, if we preview the movie, should go to that point and stop. Now that we know that stop is good, we will just simply drag it to the end. So I will click here to select and then click and drag. Got a long way to go here because I want it on the very last frame. And then now that I've done my troubleshooting and I know that it works, because I want a good grade, I will still double check by doing a command return, playing the entire animation all the way through, and just make sure that it's indeed stops on the last frame. And here I want to be careful, make sure that I'm still on the actions layer, and oops, I somehow didn't put it on the last frame. Easy enough to fix. We'll just click right there, do a Shift F5, click right here, do an F5, and we are good. And I just discovered why earlier I thought my animation wasn't complete. It's probably because I had my playhead right there, and you can see I have the tint on there. So somehow on that main symbol I ended up with an extra instance of it with a tint on it. So let me just back up, look through, make sure everything cycles through like it should. I go from the tint to no tint. Yeah, that's all good. And so right there, I just need to delete that guy. Or actually, better yet, just clear that frame. And get rid of the frame that remains with the Shift F5. Push it out to the very last frame with an F5. Very good. Okay, so now the bonus, how to do something like that. And you can see I just have a couple different keyframes. One where that top of the S starts out in place, one where it flies up above the stage, then one where it still stays here, and then where it comes back down. So there's only really one thing to teach you that you don't really know. You probably could figure out how to do this, but give it a try. If you can't figure it out, I'm going to show you, and I'm going to use the C, and I'm going to make it one of the very last things that happens here right before this fades out. Okay, so probably the part you're missing is that you just need to have a symbol of both the top and the bottom half of the C. What I'm going to animate is that my C was never there. It was waiting for the very last thing. Part of it was up here, part of it was down here, and it comes together. So very first step we need to do is be able to take that C and break it into two pieces. Right now, the C is a symbol. So I need to break the C apart until it becomes just a shape. So I'm going to select it. I am going to go up to Modify, Break Apart, and I will have to do this a couple times. The first part is just going to break it apart to the point where it is static text. When I do it the next time, now we're talking. Now when we click on this, when we look in the properties, it is just a shape. So now what I'm going to do is I'm going to grab just part of the shape. And if you remember from the earlier project, when we click and drag on a part of a selection of a shape, it moves just that part of the selection. Command Z. And now I'm going to go ahead and do an F8. And I'll tell it that that is bottom C. And I'll come over here. I'll just click on here now that they're separated. F8. Call that top C. In order to animate, I need these on their own layers. So with this one still selected, I'll go Modify, Timeline, Distribute to Layers. And it created a layer for me here and named it the name of the symbol, top C. Now we are going to do the smart thing and animate backwards. So right about here before we start getting the fade, that's where I want everything to come together. So I will insert keyframes on both of these. And let's go back in time here. F6. Okay, so back here is where we want them to be off stage. Command minus to see more of the stage. We'll drag this up here. For the fun of it, we'll drag that over here. We'll scrub across both of these. Right click, insert our classic tween. And there we go. The only problem that we have is that right here, they're both there. We do not want that, so we just go all the way back. Delete. Delete. And because I did two F6s, went to the earlier one and moved them, I don't even have to reverse my frames. The only thing I should have is something that I have to, something I have to get rid of right here. So I'll click there, do a F7. And now because I monkeyed around at the beginning, I may need to just fix the end a little bit. So I'll go right under where my action is, make sure everything is still clean, goes all the way to the end, and oh, yeah, it does. And then if you're trying to get a good grade on the project, like I said, go back here, read through every one of these things, make sure that you've done it. And after you've done that, continue reading through the rubric and make sure you're not going to leave any points on the table.